Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Digital Dispatch Podcast. My name is Blythe Brumleve. I am your host, and on today's episode, we've got a powerhouse amongst us. Kristy Knichel of Knichel Logistics is joining the show to talk about taking over her family business, the power of networking, and why mentoring matters so much. Hope y'all enjoy. Now moving into our next guest, because she is just wonderful. She's one of the women that I look up to in this industry, Kristy Knichel of Knichel Logistics, and also a panelist for the Ladies Leadership Coalition, which I'm honored to share a mic with her as well. We had Nicole on in last week's show, and now we got Kristy on in this week's show. And Kristy, I'm going to start off with sort of an industry related question, because I'm a novice when it comes to intermodal and you're the expert. So I wanted to see if you could break down a few things for me, because I think we hear a lot as industry wise, about, driver recruiting, how that's a huge issue and just an issue that just persists, but how tight capacity is, the surging prices of a container. Are you focus primarily, you have some freight brokerage and some truck brokerage, but you focus primarily on intermodal. Are a lot of those same struggles that you're seeing on the trucking side affect the intermodal side as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We're having issues with finding equipment capacity. You might be able to get a box, but you might not be able to get a dray carrier or the trucking on each end to be able to either pick up the shipment or deliver the shipment, depending on where it's going, what time. Some of these shippers or receivers are having a hard time, I think, changing appointments around when it's needed on the rail, because we do so much. One of the biggest issues is the inconsistent train schedules that are happening right now, which is causing a lot of reschedules.
Oh, wow. I didn't even really think about that. I have a train that, or I guess I don't even know the right phrase that I'm going to call this, but there's a logistics plant near my house, and not a plant, but they have a train running through it regularly. So I hear the horn all the time, and I didn't even think of it from that aspect. So sticking with my fifth grade level questions for intermodal for a second, because I like I said, I know you have a truck side of the business too, but what are some of the daily struggles that an intermodal carrier experiences that maybe other folks in other modes and sectors don't realize?
So I think, not only are they dealing with the infrastructure issues, the traffic, and that type of stuff, but when you're going into a rail ramp, there is a lot of congestion that's going on. Depending on if you're going into a port versus an actual ramp, the ports are more congested than an actual rail ramp. So some of these drivers are having to wait 3 or 4 hours just to get in and out of an actual ramp, and that's to either get an empty box or to get a loaded box. And or to bring an empty box back after delivering. Even though I would say in most cases, I think these carriers are trying to reload as much as they can before they bring back an empty box to the ramp. So those are definitely the big challenges. And then also, same thing with picking up and delivering at shippers or receivers, being held up for a period of time. Where a customer might either want them to drop the shipment and they just don't want to drop the shipment, or they're telling them it's going to take hours to unload. So it's really a lot of the same issues that you see on the over the road side.
And so to switch gears just a little bit on the perk side of things, what are some of the perks of running intermodal freight versus over the road?
So intermodal is more economically efficient from the fuel standpoint. So there's a lot of benefits in that aspect. And then also that you can save 10 to 25% on your line haul pricing with rail. In most markets, anything over 750 miles, we typically look at for shipping, or going from truck to rail, basically, can be more efficient. The only thing I would say with that is these shippers or receivers have to be able to, you know, take more time with receiving the product. As far as a truck might be able to get there in 1 or 2 days, going across the country might take 7 days.
Oh,
With the
wow.
inconsistent train schedules, though, I will say that throws another wrench in the blender there. So it might be 7 days, it might be 10 days, it might be 12 days, it might be 6 days. It's been pretty awful, to say the least, but I know the railroads are definitely working on making those changes so that we can have a better consistency with bringing that product in.
I love it. Thank you for breaking that down for me for my fifth grade intermodal, sort of education that I'm working with here, because it helps me, sort of better understand, and backing it up just a little bit to your early days in your career. You weren't always in logistics. Your father was famously the owner of Knichel Logistics before you joined the team. You were managing, two pizza shops before he convinced you to join the family business. Now, how much of a challenge was the learning curve? I mean, we just witnessed my learning curve for intermodal, but how much of a learning curve was it for you to go from managing two pizza shops to managing a, close to $100 million business?
I would say when I came on board, we were a very small company, so it wasn't as difficult. I was always the person to jump in, figure it out, learn, do whatever I had to do, even as working in the pizza shop or even waitressing at one point. Basically, doing whatever needs to be done and wanting to learn it. And when I first started, it was actually not as busy and I would say as crazy busy as it is now. Things have changed quite a bit and it's been a little bit more complicated to do what we do today than what it was back then. So, obviously learning the terminology is something that you don't have to necessarily do at a pizza shop and or waitressing or whatnot. I mean, yeah, you have to learn the menus and that type of thing, but the terminology was probably the biggest piece and how it all works together. But once you get into it within a few months or so, I don't know, I picked it up pretty fast. Some people pick it up fast and some takes a little bit more time.
No, I love that you said that you were a waitress, because I feel like that is an industry. I mean, not I feel it's definitely an industry that's been the hardest hit over the last year. I'm a former waitress. I think that skill set just translates into so many other industries, because you have to talk to perfect strangers, you have to upsell, you have to worry about customer service. So I love that you were a waitress and transitioned into this powerful, sort of voice in the logistics market, and you've grown your business into a multi-million-dollar firm, and part of that growth is by focusing on your people. Now, I've heard you mention that you like to hire folks with a sports background. Why is that a focus for you?
We feel here that if you have a sports background of some sort, that you have more of a competitiveness to yourself. And in this industry, I feel like in the operation side, the pricing side, you just have to have that competitiveness. I can't talk today inside to want to win the business, to want to be able to move the business, get the shipment picked up, get it delivered, make your customers happy. And I just feel like, people that do sports or have done sports tend to have more of that in them. It doesn't mean that you have to have it, but, it's definitely something we look for in people in certain roles.
Now, you also make it a point to be invested in each of your employees. How did you manage those relationships, especially during COVID versus now when a lot of folks are back in the office?
Yeah, I think one of the things that was important was for me to make sure not only did I stay in touch with, management team and those type of things that we've done even here at the office, but call each individual, reach out to each individual within my company, make sure that they're doing okay. Is there anything they need from me? Do they need support in some way or another? Just letting them know that I'm here and I'm backing them up, and we're all going through this together. And if they ever need to reach out to me, they can. I do have an open door policy, and there are people that have been here 12, 15 years. It's been here for, pretty much from the inception almost. So we've just built a great culture around that. And I just want people to know that even though we're at home, we're still there. I'm still, seeing what's going on and knowing what's going on as well.
I love that. I love when people put other people first. It really shows, I think, in just the overall output. And speaking, sort of outside of the business, you're also involved in a bunch of different things. You're mentoring others, especially women in the industry. You're serving on the board of directors for the TIA. You're heavily involved in local charities and sponsorships. You're earning awards like 2020's influential women in trucking and women in logistics from the Women in Trucking Association. You've also received an award twice for the fastest growing companies in Pittsburgh. And I think that those last two awards make a ton of sense, considering you're a panelist and one of the driving factors of starting the group, the Ladies Leadership Coalition. Now, we mentioned earlier that we had Nicole on. She's another panelist and the founder of the group. But she said that your mentorship to her was a big reason why she saw the value in creating this group and by how much you helped her. For many executives of growing companies, they say say that they're, too busy to mentor or even add more to their plate. So why was mentoring women like Nicole and starting this group so important to you?
I think because I didn't have that for me when I grew up in the
Mm.
industry. I'm in my 24th year. So back when I started, it was mostly all men. Even to this day, I'm still in rooms with a lot of men, and, there might be one woman, if that, when I'm at rail meetings. So to me, it means a lot to be able to give back what I've learned because I've had to learn the hard way, and figure things out in ways that were just not easy. And being able, having to reach out to eventually other peers, at some point, I just pushed myself to do it, and there was people out there that were willing to help me, but I really didn't have a support system like I feel like we have now. With all these other women up and coming, I just think it's so important that we help each other, we engage each other, and do what we can to just rise above it all and just keep pushing each other forward.
I love that because it's been such a great thing to watch just sort of from the sidelines, and now to be a part of it with, on a show like you and Nicole. It really is such an invaluable learning experience. And I encourage anyone that's out there, especially women, if you're in the logistics industry, to go watch that show because you can learn from industry veterans like Kristy. Because I think that especially for introverted people, I'm a little introverted myself. I know it probably doesn't look like it with the, a microphone in front of my face, but you talk about how there's a tremendous amount of value for putting yourself out there to stand out from the crowd. For someone who may be a tad bit of an introvert, what advice would you give to others in the industry to help overcome that initial, like, oh God, I have to talk to strangers moment?
I think the biggest thing is you just have to be yourself. And if you want to keep growing and do what you're doing, I keep telling myself, like, this is my job, this is what I have to do. I told someone yesterday that when I get asked to do things, so that sometimes I'm sitting there thinking, like, yeah, like I would love to do that. And then I'm thinking in my head, like, how do I get out of this? And I know that sounds crazy, but then I push myself to do it because I know how important it is and what it's done for me and to help me in my business. It's been tremendous. I can't even tell you how, how it's just been life changing, for me and my company. If you would even see, like 8 years ago, I just did a charity taping yesterday with, it's called the Heinz Ward Positive Athlete here in Pittsburgh. That's a big charity that I'm involved in. And the guy said, if you would have seen how you were 8 years ago versus today, like he's just so proud of how far I've come with the whole speaking because it has been a challenge for me. And you just can't be afraid to put yourself out there. I did work with a coach for a little bit, and I plan to continue to work with a coach as well. And you just got to put that time and effort in if you want to continue to evolve in your career.
I love that. All of it, including the part about Heinz Ward in Pittsburgh, because as an avid Jaguars fan, I'm not allowed to like anything that's Steelers related, but he doesn't play for the Steelers anymore. So I think I'm allowed to like that. No, no. What's
He's a
next
great
for
guy. Great guy.
I guess so, but the Jaguars still have a winning record against the Steelers. It's the only team in the NFL that we can say that about.
Well, it's funny, Blythe. I've been down there for multiple games, and I just felt like I was at home at a
Oh
Steelers
no.
game, like sitting in Pittsburgh, but yet I'm sitting in a stadium with a pool on the upper level thinking, wow, like I just feel like I'm at home
Oh
because there's so many Steeler
no.
fans. It's
Oh
great.
no. I don't even know what to say to that because all I can do is just blame the Middleburg part of Jacksonville. We don't claim
Right.
them. Jacksonville doesn't claim that part of town. All right. All jokes aside, what's the next steps for you and the company? Do you have any big plans for later on this year, for maybe even the coming years?
Yeah, I mean, we are planning to grow out our truck brokerage and grow that a lot bigger than what it is today because 75% of my business or revenue that we have here is on the rail side, but we do have LTL that's growing, and the truck brokerage is a huge part. We're also growing out our agent program as well. And I do have plans to hit 250 million. So we're putting together a plan, hopefully in 3 to 5 years. And I know it's pretty aggressive, but I think we can get there and possibly hit that $100 million goal this year as well. That was my first goal that I ever had hit, and I have a good team around me, and I'm super excited about it.
Oh, that's awesome. That would be incredible to watch that. And I have zero doubt that you'll eventually get there. Now Kristy, where can people follow more of you, more of your work, Knichel Logistics work?
Sure. KnitchelLogistics.com is our website, but we're all over social media, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. YouTube even, I think we have some stuff out there as well. So I'm on there. So yeah, I mean, definitely check us out and look us up. And, if we can be of help to you, certainly reach out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kristy. And I'll just walk away with my tail between my legs after the Jaguars joke. It's okay. It's okay. just gonna keep telling
You'll
myself it's
be
okay.
okay.
It's only one way to go for us, and that's up.
Yeah, absolutely. See, that's a positive thing that came out of this.
Thank you so much, Kristy. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Digital Dispatch podcast. As always, you can find each show I publish along with more insight over on my website, digitaldispatch.io. If you like this podcast, then I think you'll love another show that I host, Cyberly, which covers the attention economy, B2B marketing, tech, and how it all ties into the world of logistics. That show airs every Thursday from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on FreightWaves TV. There are also some links to my social media accounts along with my products and services that might be of interest to you. You can find them in the show notes or again over on my website at digitaldispatch.io. If you found this episode interesting and or entertaining, be sure to share it with a friend. Word of mouth is the best kind of marketing, and since podcast discoverability has and remains an issue in this medium, I trust and rely on folks like yourself that will share it with those who would also find it useful. Until next time, my name is Blythe Brumleve, and I will see you real soon.